progress. All right. Hey, everybody. Tyler Winder here. Of course, Taylor is not going to be hopping on. He had the final walkthrough from hell, but follow up with him after this meeting with questions about pre-approvals, anything along that when you're starting to work with these buyers and getting everything lined up in this competitive market. But today we have Hunter Evers. Hunter is with CMG Home Mortgage. He is my go-to lender. Any questions come up, buyers that come up, I connect them directly. He's been in the business a long time, and he's got our big thumbs up, a vote of confidence. But Hunter, if you want to give a quick intro, anything you want to say, and then we'll just start kind of diving in.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyler said it well. Hunter Evers, CMG Mortgage. Been working with Tyler for, I don't know, what, 5 years, 4 years, 5 years now. But yeah, as far as joining his team, I can tell you right now, you're all in great hands. No one works harder than him. No one is more creative than him that I know in this industry. And like he said, as far as I'm concerned, don't hesitate to reach out at any point for any questions, anything like that. I'll make sure that Tyler shares all my contact information with the entire team. And there is literally no such thing as a stupid question. And I don't care what time it is, just reach out.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. But yeah, why don't we just kind of dive in? So keep this very simple. Step one, hey, I'm a new agent. Someone is a buyer looking to buy. What is step one? What should I do to make sure that they're taken care of moving forward? We'll start from basic and then we'll just run on.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can. How are you, Wendy?
Good. I am so sorry. I couldn't talk and I'm sorry. What was the lender's thing?
This is Hunter.
Hunter, I'm sorry, I couldn't answer you. You said hi and I couldn't answer you because my microphone wasn't working. I just arrived from New York City, so I wasn't
No worries.
Sorry.
No worries at all. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah, so Wendy, we're just going to be diving in. This is recorded. If you don't mind just muting, and then if you have questions, obviously just unmute and ask away, and we'll try to keep everything as free-flowing as possible so we can go
Definitely.
back.
Okay, no problem.
Reference.
Okay.
But yeah, Hunter, if you want to go on, question one, it's all you.
Yeah, so new agents joining the industry, it's important just to kind of understand how the whole lending piece works, right? I think a lot of them do know that the majority of buyers need pre-approvals and to understand that they can obtain a mortgage when it's time to buy a home. But sometimes it can be a little confusing as to how to go about that. I tell all agents, you can't introduce a client to me early enough. Right. And that can save you a lot of headaches in terms of, just wasting your time. Some buyers can be projects. We understand that. It's worth putting some time in, that maybe they're like 6 months to a year out, but there are buyers who can be disasters as well, not projects. And those people are ones that tend to be the ones who want to hang out with you all weekend. And it might not be the most useful, it might not be the most useful, meaningful way to spend your time. So again, that gets me back to the point of just introducing people to me early and often. And I can go through the majority of the questions that we need to have answered as far as credit, down payment, income and employment history, stuff like that, just to understand whether or not they're worth your time. And some of them aren't, and we do have free credit repair services that we offer as well to some clients, where we can get them started with that early so that maybe a year down the road, we bring them back around and say, look, they're ready to go now.
And is there kind of a basic platform or like a basic template, I guess I should say, about I can at least ask them these questions right off the bat to make sure that if I do connect you there, it's not going to be a waste of time? Hey, should I get into, hey, what's your credit score? Do you have a job? How much do you make? What's your debt? What's your car payment? Like, should I even be asking that? Or is it literally, you want to buy a house? Cool. I'm sending you to Hunter.
It's all about what you're comfortable with, right? If it's like your cousin or your aunt or your parents, right, you probably don't mind asking them how their credit is and stuff like that. There are some people that you'll come across who are a little bit more private with that information and really only want to share it with the lender. So if that's the case, then again, I'm happy to help. But general, kind of not getting too into it questions, or just, do you work in the area? How long have you worked there? And if I've been there 8 years, that's usually a pretty good sign, rather than I've been there 2 months. Okay, we might have to look into that a little bit. or you know, relatively, would you say your credit's good? You can just ask them pretty general questions around credit, not necessarily what's your credit score. I just noticed people don't even really know what their credit scores are. They might think it's a 750, it's a 740 or whatnot. But as long as they say, you know, relatively good credit, solid employment history, I think you can kind of, you know, work your way through getting those answers out of them when you're on appointments with them. The other thing too that I don't think is too invasive to ask is just about down payment, right? How much money do you have saved up ready to go towards a home? Because that's something that you'll ultimately get out of them no matter what. Because when you're writing up their offers for the home, you are going to list their down payment. So so getting that information out of them can be very helpful too, whether it's an actual dollar amount, $10,000, $20,000, or, you know, a percentage, 5, 10, 20% down. And don't let it discourage you if they don't have much money saved up, because we do have some great down payment assistance programs too. So if they still seem like a solid credit or solid client, sorry, still make the introduction, right? Because we can possibly get their hands on some money for down payment.
So Monday, August 21st, right now, where are we at in terms of the market in your side of the industry?
In terms of the market as far as rates go, competitiveness, what are we talking about here?
I'd say rates and competitiveness in
Whole market, all the market.
Yep.
All right. So rates wise, you know, we're in like the low to mid sevens. It has not been a good stretch as far as the last 10 days go. We're getting back up to kind of, you know, the highest levels we've seen over the last 3 to 5 years here. It's challenging for sure in terms of people getting in and affordability with those monthly payments. But I am also telling people that it's now is when everyone hits the sidelines, right? You're not going to have your cake and eat it too. You're not going to have the 2.5%, 3% interest rates and also have no competition in the market. It's not going to work that way. I'm sorry. So what I'm trying to do is encourage buyers to still get out there and buy, understanding that they can refinance in the future. Us here at CMG, we're actually offering a promotion right now where if you refinance or have the opportunity to refinance after you close with us, we give you a 5-year window. So if there's any opportunity to refinance within the next 5 years, we waive our lender fees. We're not going to charge you again to drop your rate in the next 5 years. So that's a good incentive. I've seen that that's motivated some people where maybe the monthly payments at the top of their range, they still have that comfort getting out there knowing that we're waiving the fees for the refinance in the next 5 years. You know, that's kind of where we are rate wise. That would be for a 30-year fixed rate. You know, mid sevens is kind of what we're quoting right now. And then in terms of the market, right, Tyler and I were just talking about this before we jumped on the call. It's an inventory crisis. There's very little inventory out there, and anything worth its weight is still really competitive because there are a lot of people out there with pre-approvals just waiting for the right home. So if anything, it's really just waiting for more inventory to hit the market. I do think that that's going to become more and more of a challenge as we look forward over the next like 5 to 10 years, especially with the institutional investors like the BlackRocks, the Goldman Sachs. They're entering the market. And right now the projections are that they should own about 40% of the single family homes in the country by 2030. If you think it's hard to get your hands on a single family home right now, wait until they own 40% of them and they're buying them all cash. So, you know, that's another kind of little kick in the butt that I'm giving to clients like, hey, it might be game time here. You might need to really get out there and get your hands on a home. And then again, we monitor the market post closing and try to bring that monthly payment down as hopefully rates soften in the future.
So what are some conversations that we can be having with the buyer? Let's say I'm your client. I've been shopping for the last 8 months. I could have bought when the interest rates were 4.5% to 5%. Obviously now it's 7.5%. My affordability just went down drastically. What counters can I give to the buyer in terms of, hey, I know this sucks. You can't afford as much as you had, or you have to put more dollars up every month, but here's why you should be looking to still purchase.
Yeah, I think given the inventory issues that there's still a lot of meat on the bone in terms of room to run for these home values to really increase because of how tight it is, right? So when there's very little supply and a lot of demand, which is exactly what we're facing right now, that just puts, you know, upward pressure on appreciation, upward pressure on home values. So I do think that it's still a safe way to invest. I think that it's very important to explain to clients how home appreciation works and how their investment actually appreciates as well, right? When you're looking at somebody putting, 20% down on $1 million home, when they say that your home's going to appreciate over the next year at 5% clip, that's $50,000 that you're making on your 20% down payment there, right? So you're not gaining your appreciation based on your down payment. It's not like, oh well, I could go put this $200,000 in the market and make 5%. You could, but you're not going to put it on the market and make 5% based off $1 million price point. So that's something that I've been really explaining in detail. Well, I've always explained that in detail to my clients, but you'd be surprised how many people do not understand how that works and how safe of an investment it is, especially just using 4% or 5% for an appreciation rate based on these home values. Because of how expensive these homes are in this area, they can really make a considerable amount of money year over year. And 4 and 5% for appreciation rates, that's super conservative, right? We've been rolling at like a 10% to 15% clip over the last 3 years with appreciation locally.
And what if I'm a home buyer? I bite the bullet. I could have bought it 5%. I bit your bullet. I'm at 7.5% now. I put 20% down. The home increases, let's say 5%. What does that mean for me as a homeowner in 12 months? Like, is there any of those conversations like, oh, I just got an extra 5% worth of my house is now worth $1,050,000. What can I do with that as a seller, if anything?
So as a buyer, right, that's instant equity in addition to what principal you've paid down on your loan over those first 12 months as well, right? For people who are purchasing homes with smaller down payments, they can look at possibly trying to get out of their PMI payments a little bit early with the rapid appreciation that we've been seeing lately. But again, it's a safe storage of wealth as well. As we've seen in the stock market over the last week, especially over the last week, that's not really the safest place to be currently, where home appreciation rates, historically speaking, we're really looking at 4 to 5% year over year. I keep going back to that number for a reason. So it's a very safe place, I would say, to park some money right now. If you can swing that monthly payment, or you have some family members who are going to chip in, or you got a roommate who lives in your apartment with you right now who you can move over to your new condo and rent a bedroom from you and help supplement that mortgage payment, then I'm telling people, you really got to get off the pot, get out there and make it happen. You might not have a better time than right now in terms of not having as much competition. Obviously, there's not there's not a great amount of inventory, but the competition can be way worse, similar to what we saw through 2021.
If you mentioned PMI, let's just harp on that a little bit. At what percentage are you paying PMI?
Any down payment less than 20%, the mortgage is required to be insured. So there's PMI there one way or another. There are some programs that, there's no PMI, et cetera, et cetera. The majority of those, it's just there's a creative way of financing the PMI, whether they roll it into the interest rate or roll it into the loan amount. But the general rule of thumb, if someone's putting less than 20% down, that mortgage needs to be insured.
So for, let's say, a first-time home buyer, example purposes, is putting 10% down on a $500,000 asset. They can't afford what they had, obviously 7.5%. You can refinance them at any point. Is there, going back to PMI, let's say the house appreciates 10% in 2 years, is it an automatic removal of PMI by just saying, hey, this house sold, it's a comp, or how's that work?
So great question. So the way that works is if it's within 2 years, it's called early cancellation, right? So you'd reach out to your mortgage company, you'd reach out to us, let us know about the comps in the area. And then what we'd likely do is just charge that client for an appraisal. We have to get an appraisal done to obviously verify the value. And then we would remove the PMI. Yes, correct. If, the comps don't really move, or, there aren't supporting comps and you're paying your PMI for a little bit, what typically happens is once you reach that 20% equity threshold based on your original loan amount and the original value, then you can reach out to have your PMI canceled. If you forget to do that, once it hits 20%, as long as you've made all of your payments on time, when you hit 22%, by law, we have to cancel it immediately.
So example purposes, again, 10% down on a $500,000 purchase. First time home buyer in 2 years, let's say it's gone up 5%. I'm at 20%. What if, I mean, am I gambling by refinancing once I have the 20% in case rates get higher? Or in your opinion, is a higher rate even in conversation right now? Like,
So
should
if
I wait as a buyer to get a lower interest rate?
I would suggest trying to get out of your PMI. I would at least try to do the early cancellation and pay the $500 for the appraisal to get out early, right? Because somebody's PMI payment could be $150, $200, where, you know, over the course of the next 2 to 5 months, you would have already surpassed what the appraisal costs. So just bite the bullet, pay for the appraisal, try to get out of your PMI. As far as where rates are at that time, you really have to try to time it, right? So it doesn't make sense to refinance out of the PMI when you can just request early cancellation and keep your interest rate from when you originally purchased the home, as long as rates are either at the same level or higher at that time. If it just so happens that the PMI cancellation timing works out with interest rates dropping in the market, then yeah, by all means, you try to refinance, lower your interest rate, and drop off or cancel your PMI at the same time. Kill two birds with one stone.
Sort of a switch of a subject. Let's say I'm a seller and I bought 6 years ago. I listened to you 6 years ago. I have all this equity now. I have to sell to go buy my next spot. I don't want to be a home buyer with a home sale contingency. Is there any other products or using the equity that I have in my home to shop for a house? Or am I always going to be constrained in that if I can't afford that new house to sell?
So few things with that, right? We can always look at that seller's profile and just see based on what their mortgage payment is now, what the new mortgage payment would be, and how much money they make if they can just swing it, right? So that they don't have to be contingent because their debt to income ratio is so low where they can hold on to 2 properties at once. If that's not the case, then we do have a product where you'd still have to make a contingent offer. That's the tricky part, but basically we will allow them to close as long as they can prove to us that the mortgage contingency has been met on the property that they're selling. Does that make sense?
Nope.
So if they're selling a home, let's say you're selling your home, you're selling a $300,000 home, you're buying a $600,000 home. So if you can show me that your buyer for your $300,000 home has already met their mortgage contingency,
got it.
We will allow you to close on the $600,000 home, but you have to have that down payment. You can't be relying on selling the other home for your cash to roll over into the down payment, because, you know, that defeats the purpose. At that point, you have to wait no matter what for the $300,000 home to sell. We do have another program called our all-in-one loan, which helps clients very aggressively pay down their home loans. You know, that's a conversation for another call, to be honest with you. It's a very, very unique, detailed product. But what it does is it uses every dollar that the client earns, and it goes towards their mortgage before they go spend any money. And as long as the client cash flows really well, then just by default, whatever's left in their account each month pays their mortgage down by that much. So what that does is it really accelerates how quickly you pay your loan off. We're seeing people, you know, who are ready to take out a 30-year loan. When we run them through the all-in-one loan simulator, they're paying it off in like 5 years, 6 years. So when that's the case, that all-in-one loan is actually a home equity line as well. So once that's paid off completely, you still have access to your original loan amount. So you can actually go pull that money out and go buy the next home. We will go in, we'll go through that in more detail, but again, it is another option, and, you know, I'd be remiss not to mention it on this call.
Well, and what you're trying to do is just get creative to try to get your buyers, your clients into the market, and do whatever you can after to make sure they're taken care of. Whether that's appreciation, PMI goes out, whether that's the all-in-one where you're paying down the loan quicker, or whether it's just a refinance once the rate goes down, you know, 1.5 points.
That's it, right? With the all-in-one loan too, right? So what we really looked at here as a company was there's really 3 pillars of what determines what a loan costs you. It's, you know, A, the interest rate, what everybody thinks of first, B, the actual loan balance, and C, the duration, how long you hold the loan off. or hold the loan for. What we're doing with the all-in-one loan is really tackling B and C, right? How long you hold the loan and the principal balance, and kind of using people's natural cash flow through their checking accounts to offset that balance and really keep it low and get it paid off as soon as possible, because we can't control where rates are right now.
I do want to focus on agents and agents that you work with that are having success. Anything else you want to mention about current market, anything along those lines before we transition?
Yeah, just be a listing agent. You'll have great success right now.
And how do you do that?
Yeah. Chase listings. That's it. No, it's you know, I'm still working with a lot of buyers agents who are still doing business, right? It's having the proper CRM. It's really dipping into every single person you cross paths with, anyone whose email or phone number you get. Make sure that they understand what you do. Put them in your CRM, even if it's just simple market update emails that you're sending out on Monday mornings or something like that for someone who's kicking the tires. So I think the CRM's very important. I think staying top of mind for clients, right? Whether it's client events or networking, social events, stuff like that, happy hours. I think that those are still important to get out there and really get people into the mood and talk to them about real estate, that it's not the end of the world just because there's a little bit of inventory crisis and rates are high. It's important to really get in front of those people, especially people that are investors who you've worked with for years and years, that you know are willing to buy a home under the right conditions. You know, getting the point across that this might be an opportunity where you can actually get into a home at a decent price, understanding that the interest rates have forcefully sidelined a lot of people, right? There are people who are just saying, oh, you know, 7.5 isn't my appetite right now. I'm going to take a break. Then there are the people who said, oh, my bank called me and I can no longer buy a home because rates are 7.5%. Right. So, you know, for investors, people who have deep pockets, it might be a good time to strike on the right home, you know, not kind of just selling them any home that comes across the lot, but really having them ready for those types of opportunities, knowing that there might not be as much competition out there right now.
And if I'm new to the industry and I don't have investors that have deep pockets that I've worked with for years, how do I get in front of them? I know you mentioned the meetup groups and stuff like that. Is it as simple as going meetup.com, you see an event and show up for it? What would you recommend?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot on Instagram in terms of just networking locally, wherever you are, whether your market's Worcester, Metro West, Boston, you can find a lot of networking events online. It's at least a good way to get your feet wet. You never know who you're going to meet out there. There are, you know, there are some larger companies that host their own networking groups. I know like Evo, they'll host their own networking nights and stuff like that. Those are great opportunities to get out there and meet their agents and whatnot. If you're a real estate agent who's getting into the industry, it's smart to really call on lenders and real estate attorneys and ask for us to introduce you to people, right? It's all reciprocal, right? So if we introduce you to people, especially like builders, or even just like introduce you to networking groups and where to really spend your time rather than wasting it, then, you know, that's worth us doing to help you, knowing that it'll be reciprocal and the business will come back around to us, right? One hand washes the other big time in this industry, especially through times like this. Then you have, you know, online leads, lead generation online, stuff like that. The Zillows, the Redfins, you know, there's a million different lead generation companies online, but yeah, you can tap into those as well. It's all creativity, social media, build a social media presence, let people know what you do, build those followers up, let them know what you do.
So you've bought a few properties yourself. How do I earn someone like yours business if they already have existing relationships?
I think it's bringing us off-market deals, right? And again, that's so easy to say, but that's where a lot of value lies, is whether it's an off-market deal that you have that you can present to someone, say, hey, look, I'm a little bit more valuable than somebody else that you might work with just because I have access exclusively to this listing. Or even just like plans for a property. If there's a property that's been sitting on the market, you know, down the street that no one really sees a vision or has a vision for, maybe you come up with that vision and then call on the investors and let them know what you can help them create that home into, whether it's a rental opportunity where if you add 2 bathrooms and a bedroom upstairs and the zoning board in that part of the, you know, that part of the state is a little bit more lax, then that brings in another $1,500 in rent, and the interest rates aren't hitting you as hard. It's creativity. It's understanding your product. What are you selling, and how do you get people interested in it?
Well, and like what you just mentioned, that's something that we harp on over here is don't just send a property to a client and saying, hey, what do you think? It's exactly what you just said. Hey, this one's been sitting on the market. It's overpriced, but if we do X, Y, and Z, we'll be able to get an extra $1,500 a month. And then this is how it looks. That's giving a full vision to your client right off the bat versus relying on them to maybe not see what you see.
Exactly. There, and there's so much value in that. Not only just the way that the client appreciates it. You know, that's going to happen instantly as soon as they see. They'll say, you know, it's instant. What's the word I'm looking for? They'll know immediately that you know your stuff, right? When you bring that to them, you'll gain their confidence immediately, and then they're that much more likely to help or to be interested in the next one that you bring to them.
Love it. We do have a couple minutes left. Wendy, you're the only one on the call. So if you have any specific mortgage-ish, market-ish, anything related questions that you want to ask Hunter, here's a good time for you. If not, no worries.
Not really. I don't have any questions, but I'm actually gonna listen to the whole recording again.
Yeah.
But
Wendy, how's
no, I don't
everything
have any
been
questions.
going for you recently in the market? What are you seeing?
Well, I kind of have the same mentality that Tyler has investor. One of the major reasons that I'm joining his
You able to hear Hunter?
No, I wasn't sure if that was me or not.
his team. I guess that I've done pretty good.
Wendy, I think you have some poor Wi-Fi. It's really choppy.
I started last year with Keller Williams, and I just switched over with Tyler.
Wendy, I'm trying to mute you, but I'm not allowed to. It's not letting me. We can't hear you at all. I
have a listing coming up next week.
Sorry. Wendy, can you mute? Okay.
Try to send a chat.
Yeah. Wendy, if you can hear me, we're not understanding you, so we'll have to get back on your question. Hunter, what we'll do is I'll of course have all of your information. We'll have it available so everyone has it. But what is your contact information before we hang up?
Yeah, so the best way to contact me is my cell. That's 617-999-4890. You can call, text, again, 24/7. If you're in a jam, you have questions, you need help from a lender, just reach out, seriously. No questions too small, no questions too big. And then you can also use my email if that's what you prefer, and that's huntere@cmghomeloans.com. Beautiful.
Hunter, we appreciate your time. We'll definitely have you on, talk about the all-in-one product here within the next couple of weeks as well. Appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
You got it. Thanks, brother.
Yep. Take care. Bye.